It happened in an instant. One moment, everything seemed normal. The next, chaos, real, palpable panic. Reports began circulating almost immediately. Cardi B had been rushed to the hospital following an asthma attack. But insiders say this episode was different, more severe than anything she had experienced recently. This wasn't the kind of flare-up that could be brushed off with a quick inhaler or a few deep breaths. This was serious, urgent, the kind of attack that forces immediate action, the kind that makes everyone around you spring into motion without hesitation. For anyone familiar with Cardi B's history, asthma has long been a shadow hovering over her career. She has been candid about it for years, joking about it on stage, warning fans during interviews, pausing performances when symptoms flared. Fans who have followed her journey understood how unpredictable, aggressive, and relentless the condition could be. But according to sources close to her, this episode carried a different energy entirely. It didn't build gradually. There were no warning signs, no creeping discomfort. Instead, it struck suddenly, catching everyone off guard, shifting the atmosphere from ordinary to urgent in seconds. In situations like this, there is no room to hesitate. Every second matters. Those present reportedly acted instantly. Friends, assistants, and staff members coordinated with precision, balancing panic with composure, urgency with method. Social media erupted almost simultaneously. Fans flooded platforms with questions. Is she okay? What triggered this? Is this asthma or something more? Every post, clip, or story was dissected, analyzed, and shared. The combination of sudden severity and public visibility turned personal health into a collective anxiety. What intensified concern even further was the lack of official updates. No confirmation, no statement, no reassurances, just fragments, fleeting glimpses, and the deafening silence of those closest to her. When someone with a known chronic condition suddenly requires medical attention, silence does not calm, it magnifies fear. The absence of clear information leaves room for speculation, and speculation grows faster than fact. Each passing minute stretched longer than the last, as fans pieced together what little they could see and hear. Asthma is never predictable. Even with preparation and awareness, a patient can be fine one moment and in critical danger the next. For someone living Cardi B's life, high intensity, constant movement, public scrutiny, back-to-back commitments, the stakes are even higher. Her schedule, often packed with performances, press appearances, flights, studio sessions, and public events, leaves little room for the body to recover. Sources indicate that the weeks leading up to this incident had been particularly taxing. Minimal rest, constant travel, and relentless obligations, conditions ripe for complications. Triggers for asthma attacks are often invisible until the attack is underway: dust, smoke, environmental shifts, stress. And in those moments, panic can exacerbate danger. Imagine feeling a sudden tightness in your chest, each breath growing more labored than the last, surrounded by people who must act quickly but delicately. Cardi B's team, according to insiders, responded with an intensity that matched the severity. The moment it became clear that routine measures, fresh air, calm, inhaler, would not suffice, they decided on immediate hospitalization. From that point, everything moved at breakneck speed. Staff coordinated calls ahead of arrival, cleared paths for transport, and ensured emergency teams were ready. Cars navigated with precision, every second planned, every move calculated. But even within that orchestration, the situation escalated. Her condition reportedly worsened slightly in transit, not drastically, but enough to intensify concern. Stabilizing her breathing became the priority, every decision measured, every action critical. Once at the hospital, the response intensified further. Doors opened, medical teams moved with practiced urgency, oxygen was supplied, monitors read vital signs, and every protocol designed for severe asthma cases was immediately implemented. Normally, with Cardi's prior history and treatment regimen, attacks can be stabilized quickly. This time, she did not respond as rapidly as expected. The minutes stretched, heavy with tension as uncertainty loomed. In those first critical moments, the question was stark. Would she stabilize, or would further intervention be required? The environment inside the hospital was tense but not chaotic. It was a precision kind of urgency where every action carried weight. Rapid assessment, continuous monitoring, and immediate intervention occurred simultaneously. Every staff member knew that the margin for error was minimal and the pressure was absolute. Outside, the world had nothing but fragments. Social media users scanned for hints, clips, posts, tweets. Nothing that might provide clarity. Each absence of information fueled fear, amplified by Cardi's openness about her past health struggles. For those watching, it was impossible not to recall prior incidents, performance pauses, canceled appearances, moments when her asthma made her life pause briefly. Yet this event felt different. The suddenness, the need for immediate hospitalization, and the delayed stabilization combined to create a level of urgency that resonated even through digital distance. Fans were collectively holding their breath, relying on whispers, insider confirmations, and fleeting updates to piece together what was happening. Asthma, as this episode demonstrated, is unpredictable and unforgiving. Even someone with access to the best resources and the most attentive care is vulnerable. For Cardi B, whose life operates at high tempo, the cumulative stress on the body compounds every risk. Stress, exertion, environmental triggers, all heightened the danger, and all were factors in this incident. Those closest to her understood the stakes in real time, acting decisively to preserve life while keeping composure. The episode also underscored another truth: preparation and professionalism matter. Cardi's team acted with speed and clarity, coordinating transport, emergency care, and hospital admission seamlessly. Medical staff executed protocols with exacting precision, addressing oxygenation, airway support, and vital monitoring immediately. Every intervention was purposeful, every second optimized. The coordination of team and hospital staff exemplified best practices in acute asthma management, demonstrating the importance of preparedness in the face of sudden health crises. As treatment progressed, Cardi B's breathing began to stabilize. The initial wave of panic eased into focused care, but even as the situation was brought under control, the intensity of the incident left its mark. The episode highlighted just how dangerous asthma can be, particularly for someone with a demanding lifestyle under constant public scrutiny. It also demonstrated the importance of vigilance, rapid response, and professional readiness. Even a known, manageable condition can become critical when circumstances align. For fans, the incident became a stark reminder of the fragility of health. Despite fame, resources, and public visibility, no one is immune to sudden medical crises. The public watched, anxious and invested, their attention magnified by Cardi's transparency and the silence surrounding this particular attack. Rumors, speculation, and concern dominated social platforms, reflecting collective worry that transcended celebrity fascination. Finally, as initial treatments took effect, the narrative shifted from panic to careful relief. Cardi B was being cared for, and stabilization efforts were successful. Yet the incident remained a vivid reminder: chronic conditions are never trivial, and acute attacks can strike at any moment. The combination of high-pressure lifestyle, public scrutiny, and severe asthma had created a situation that demanded decisive action, rapid intervention, and unwavering attention. In retrospect, every detail, from the sudden onset to the initial ineffectiveness of routine measures, from the rapid mobilization of emergency services to the precise hospital response, magnified the intensity of the situation. It revealed the delicate balance between health, environment, and public life, emphasizing that preparation and rapid response can be the difference between catastrophe and stabilization. Ultimately, the episode reinforced key truths about chronic health management. Vigilance, awareness, and readiness are critical. Cardi B's team acted decisively. The hospital staff responded with precision, and fans, though anxious, witnessed a high-stakes demonstration of expertise and coordination. The attack, sudden and dangerous, highlighted not only the unpredictable nature of asthma, but the importance of professional care, rapid response, and focused attention in moments when seconds can mean everything. It happened suddenly, with an intensity that caught everyone off guard. One moment, life seemed to be continuing as usual. The next, alarm and fear surged through everyone present. Reports began to circulate almost immediately. Cardi B had been rushed to the hospital following a severe asthma attack, but sources close to the situation were quick to stress that this episode was unlike her previous experiences. The onset was sudden, her initial treatment showed limited effect, and the escalation required immediate, coordinated action. This wasn't a flare-up that could be managed casually or delayed. It was urgent, and every second counted. For Cardi, asthma has been a recurring and well-documented challenge for years. She has spoken openly about the condition in interviews, performances, and even casual social media interactions. Fans are familiar with the pauses in concerts, the public explanations during events, and the moments when she laughed off something that was clearly frighteningly real. Her openness has made her health journey visible, but also a source of concern and empathy among her followers. Yet, according to insiders, this particular attack carried a gravity and intensity that went beyond previous incidents. It was abrupt, aggressive, and required immediate intervention, a stark reminder that chronic conditions can never be underestimated, regardless of celebrity status or access to top medical care. Inside the room, the atmosphere was tense, almost suspended in time. Those present described it as a scene not of chaos but of highly focused intensity. Friends, assistants, and team members circled carefully, observing every movement, every expression, every breath. In moments like this, silence is deafening. Every pause, every gesture carries meaning. The air was charged with anticipation and worry, and everyone present instinctively tried to read what they could. Could she stabilize? Would the next inhalation be easier, or would the attack intensify? The unknown amplified fear. Medical staff arrived and immediately took extra precautions. These weren't arbitrary measures. They were deliberate, intended to mitigate even the smallest risk. Continuous monitoring, additional checks, and heightened readiness marked the seriousness of the situation. The care provided was precise and methodical, reflecting a recognition that the stakes were high. While Cardi was receiving immediate attention, the team refused to leave anything to chance. In moments like this, preparedness and vigilance can make the difference between a manageable attack and a life-threatening crisis. Outside, the world quickly caught up. In an age of instant information and social media, news spreads almost as fast as events unfold. Within minutes of her hospitalization, fans flooded platforms with questions, tags, and posts. Is she okay? What happened? Anyone have updates? The lack of official confirmation amplified anxiety. Every second without clarity fueled speculation. Every absence of information created a void that the digital world rushed to fill. Concerned fans dissected every story, every clip, every rumor, trying to piece together an accurate picture of what was happening. The incident laid bare the human side of celebrity life. The pressures of relentless schedules, constant public scrutiny, and high expectations do not simply exist in the background. They are tangible forces that affect mental and physical health. Stress, fatigue, and overwork can exacerbate underlying conditions like asthma, transforming what might have once been a manageable flare into a critical challenge. Cardi B's experience reminded everyone that behind the public image, behind the bright lights, there exists a person whose health and well-being are paramount and deserving of attention, care, and respect. From the earliest moments after the incident, fans reacted with intense emotion. Social media timelines filled with messages of concern, empathy, and support. The usual chatter of entertainment debates, jokes, and controversies paused, replaced by genuine expressions of hope. Prayers for Cardi. Take all the time you need. Hope she's okay. The moment her stabilization was confirmed, A collective exhale swept across her audience, but it was only partial. Relief rippled through timelines, yet an underlying tension remained. Many could not shake the lingering worry, conscious that stabilization did not mean the risk had entirely passed. Within minutes, Cardi B was trending, not for music, controversy, or fashion, but for something deeply human, her health. The reactions were immediate, heartfelt, and overwhelming. Fans shared personal reflections alongside messages of hope, empathizing with her experience and recognizing the precarious nature of chronic illness. There was a rare, unified pause across social media, a moment when entertainment and celebrity gave way to concern for a fellow human being. Fans were invested not just in the persona but in the person, acknowledging that health crises can strike anyone, no matter their status, resources, or energy. The music industry also responded in tandem with fans. Artists, colleagues, and influencers who often remain silent in public crises stepped forward, posting messages of care and respect. These weren't long statements or analyses, but short, deliberate notes acknowledging the seriousness of the situation. Simple words of empathy that resonated widely. The voices of figures who rarely comment publicly carried additional weight, signaling that this incident transcended normal industry chatter. Their acknowledgement highlighted the universal fragility of life, even amid fame and success, and reminded the public that health is a priority above all else. As the immediate emotional wave of concern unfolded, a subtler conversation began to emerge. Fans and insiders asked genuine questions, not as critique but as expressions of care. Was Cardi overworking herself? Did her relentless schedule contribute to the severity of this episode? Why had this particular asthma attack escalated so quickly? These reflections revealed a deeper awareness. Fans weren't merely invested in her public image or career, they were considering her holistic well-being. They understood that physical health, mental health, and lifestyle balance are interconnected, and that without attention, even routine conditions can become severe. This dialogue soon broadened into discussions about sustainable practices for celebrities, the hidden costs of fame, and the pressures inherent in high-intensity careers. Cardi B's incident became a lens through which people considered how relentless schedules, travel, performances, and public obligations impact long-term health. The conversation evolved from concern about one individual to a reflection on systemic expectations in entertainment, the importance of self-care, and the necessity of reevaluating priorities when chronic health issues are involved. Media coverage quickly amplified these discussions. Headlines such as "Cardi B hospitalized after asthma scare," "Fans rally around Cardi B following health emergency," and "Concerns rise over artist's schedule" appeared across platforms. Once the media entered the narrative, the story became more structured and layered, incorporating analysis, interviews with health experts, and commentary on the challenges of managing chronic conditions under the spotlight. The narrative shifted from a singular event to a larger discussion about health, career, and responsibility, framing the episode as a cautionary tale for both public figures and their audiences. Even as reports confirmed her stabilization, uncertainty lingered. Cardi B had not issued a detailed statement, and official explanations about the severity or cause of the episode were absent. This lack of clarity kept fans on edge. They wanted more than reassurance, they sought understanding. How serious had the episode been? What had triggered it? What precautions would be implemented to prevent a recurrence? Until these answers were available, the story remained dynamic, alive, and deeply personal for supporters who had invested emotionally in her well-being. Amid the public concern and speculation, a sobering realization emerged. This episode could have been far worse. The relief of stabilization quickly transformed into reflection. Fans and observers recognized the inherent fragility of life and the necessity of careful management of health. The incident underscored that even individuals who seem unstoppable, energetic, and resilient are human, susceptible to sudden crises that demand attention, preparation, and support. Another detail that emerged quietly but powerfully underscored the seriousness of the incident. Cardi B had been kept under observation longer than expected. For those familiar with standard asthma care, this was significant. Normally, asthma episodes are treated, stabilized, monitored briefly, and patients are discharged once considered safe. Extended observation indicated that medical professionals were exercising extreme caution, ensuring that no complications were overlooked and that the risk of sudden relapse was minimized. Fans began to grasp that this was not a routine flare. It was a serious episode that warranted careful, methodical management. Medical teams' meticulous care highlighted the complexity of the situation. Quick interventions, continuous monitoring, and a readiness to respond to sudden changes were crucial. These actions were not just procedural. They reflected the recognition that asthma is unpredictable and can escalate swiftly. By prioritizing extended observation, the team reduced potential risk, ensuring that the incident would not escalate into a crisis. It was an illustration of how preparation, expertise, and attentiveness can save lives even in the most familiar of health challenges. In the hours that followed, questions persisted. What had triggered this particular attack? Was it exhaustion, stress, environmental factors, or a combination of elements? Without clarity, uncertainty remained. Fans and the public continued to engage actively, analyzing every update, considering implications, and speculating on possible causes. The story, therefore, remained both a shared concern and an evolving narrative, reflecting the deep investment people had in the well-being of someone they admired and cared for. Amidst this tension, the possibility of lasting change began to surface. Insiders suggested that the incident could prompt adjustments to Cardi B's work schedule, performance commitments, and overall health management. Such changes would not be minor. They could represent a fundamental shift in how she approaches her career and personal well-being. If implemented, this episode would no longer be a singular health scare. It would become a pivotal moment, a catalyst for a sustainable balance between her professional demands and personal health. Fans and observers began to process this potential shift. Beyond relief, there was a growing sense of hope, the possibility that an alarming incident could lead to positive, preventive measures. There was recognition that proactive adjustments could safeguard her long-term health, ensuring that future emergencies are minimized and that her body is given the attention it deserves. It was a lesson not just for Cardi B, but for anyone navigating demanding, high-stakes careers while managing chronic conditions. The human impact of this episode extended beyond physical health. Sources indicated that Cardi B herself was reflecting deeply. A severe health crisis forces confrontation with vulnerability, prompting self-assessment, reconsideration of limits, and introspection about priorities. The episode became multidimensional, a physical challenge intertwined with emotional and mental reflection. It created space for personal insight, highlighting the intricate connection between lifestyle choices, career pressures, and long-term well-being. As media outlets continued coverage, the narrative became more layered. Analysis and reporting emphasized not only the immediate response, but also the broader implications of fame, chronic illness, and the pressures of public life. The story became educational as well as emotional, illuminating the ways in which chronic conditions interact with high-demand careers. Experts weighed in, providing context about asthma triggers, preventive measures, and the importance of early intervention, reinforcing the lessons embedded in the incident. The ongoing public engagement underscored the collective empathy surrounding the event. Fans were not simply spectators. They were participants in a shared moment of concern, reflection, and awareness. The incident invited conversations about the hidden vulnerabilities behind public personas, the necessity of health-conscious decision-making, and the role of supportive communities in navigating crises. It became clear that true support transcends entertainment. It encompasses care, understanding, and attentiveness to human well-being. Through all of this, the central truth remained. Even with stabilization, chronic conditions like asthma can flare unpredictably. Vigilance, rapid intervention, and sustained observation are essential. Cardi B's experience illustrated that preparedness and expert care can transform fear into hope, and that even in high-profile lives, human health requires priority, patience, and proactive management. Ultimately, this incident served as both a wake-up call and a moment of reflection. Fans, professionals, and the public were reminded that health cannot be taken for granted, that crises can happen suddenly, and that even those who seem resilient are vulnerable. Cardi B's experience sparked meaningful dialogue about self-care, responsibility, and the human experience behind celebrity life. It demonstrated the importance of awareness, preparation, and empathy, reinforcing that true support is measured not by attention or applause but by care, concern, and respect for human well-being. As the world watched, the lessons of this episode endured. Quick response, careful observation, and thoughtful reflection were critical to preventing escalation. Fans recognized that health, even for the most famous and seemingly unstoppable individuals, demands vigilance, respect, and strategic care. And while this chapter may have closed with stabilization, the implications, insights, and awareness generated by the incident remain active, shaping how Cardi B and her supporters approach the future. The episode was more than a scare. It was a reminder of human fragility, a moment of reflection on the pressures of fame, and a testament to resilience. It underscored the intersection of vulnerability and public life, emphasizing that behind every headline and social media trend exists a person whose health deserves attention and protection. Fans, industry colleagues, and the public at large were reminded that empathy, vigilance, and care are essential, both in crisis and in ordinary life. Cardi B's asthma episode became a shared moment of concern and reflection, illustrating that health is unpredictable and that even the strongest individuals require support. It transformed from a personal emergency into a public dialogue about sustainability, self-care, and collective responsibility. It was a story of human fragility, proactive care, and the profound impact of community awareness. In the end, it reminded everyone watching that quick action, careful observation, and ongoing vigilance are essential, and that human well-being is the foundation upon which all other successes depend. This was not merely a health scare, it was a turning point. It emphasized the fragility that underlies even the most vibrant and successful lives, the power of attentive care, and the necessity of reflection in high-pressure professions. It highlighted the importance of listening to the body, responding swiftly to warning signs, and ensuring that chronic conditions are never underestimated. The story became a lesson in empathy, preparation, and awareness, a call for reflection that extended far beyond the individual, resonating with anyone managing the demands of life, career, and health.